Where do I even start? Hello everyone, welcome to Bound in Prose, the booktube channel for those with very eclectic tastes in literature. I am your host, Matt. Today I just wanted to kind of come to you and give you a little update on what I have read so far this year, a recent book haul that I did, and just kind of sit around and chit-chat about books a little bit. Nothing too terribly focused this week. I know. So 2024 has been a pretty good reading year for me so far. I am about 12 books into my reading goal. I set my reading goal this year at 25 books. I have a lot of chunky, long books that I wanted to kind of get through, and, So anyways, that plus working 2 jobs, I just felt like that was enough that I could push myself to kind of get through some books and read a good amount this year without making it this overwhelming task. And I know there are so many other people out there who's like, I read 150 to 1,000 books this year. And that's great. I truly am so happy that you can do that. But anyways, 25 for me this year, and I'm about 11 or 12 books into it right now. I've read some pretty good stuff so far. If you've been watching my channel, I finished up The Chronicles of Narnia, which I really enjoyed. I read Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee, which was really good. Really enjoyed that one. Finished up the Farseer trilogy. Justin and I are going to talk about that one. I'm waiting currently on Justin to finish it up so we can get together and talk about that trilogy as a whole. But a little bit of a spoiler alert here for that video. Both of us kind of felt the same way about that third book in the trilogy, which is why it's taking a little longer to get that one out. So anyways, I also read The Book Thief by Markus Zusak, which was beautiful. I also read Flowers for Algernon, which was so good. I can see why that one is sort of a modern classic. And The Visitation by Frank Peretti, which was also very, very good. And I have read the first book in the Red Rising saga, which is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. And I want to do a full review on that one. Really, really excited to get further into that series. And then the other book I read was another classic. I didn't do a Let's Read a Classic for this one, but I ended up reading A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. And I really, really enjoyed that. I don't know that I want to do a full review on it. It's a book that's really well known, very popular, and I mean, I could do a review on it. I could have done a Let's Read a Classic on it, but I just kind of chose not to. I will say that was my second Hemingway novel, and I had to read The Old Man and the Sea in high school, and I remember thinking like Mr. Hemingway was a really good writer, and that I enjoyed The Old Man and the Sea more than I thought I would. Really appreciated it, but I knew that Hemingway's books tend to be a bit depressing.
You read a depressing book? So unlike you.
They can be downers. And so anyways, I went into A Farewell to Arms, was really enjoying it. It's basically about this soldier who is sort of in and out of warfare for a lot of the book. He gets injured at one point. He meets this woman that he falls in love with, and they eventually, get together. And I mean, it's about, it's one of those books that's about war. I mean, Hemingway was in the military, I believe, and, had a lot to say on that subject. It sort of reminded me a bit in places of Kurt Vonnegut, as far as the theme, and it's just about what war does to people and the needlessness of war. But I was really enjoying it. There's actually some good comedy in A Farewell to Arms. I think I said, like, the soldier, he gets injured at one point, and he spends a lot of the book, like, recovering,
and he, you know, meets some friends, and one of his friends calls him baby, and their banter is really good. Like, I love the dialogue in A Farewell to Arms. And then towards the end of the book, I saw what was coming. I will not spoil it, even though it's an older book and most people have read it. But towards the end of it, I knew what was going to happen, and it still was just like, ugh, like, what did I expect? This is a Hemingway book. And so, but I really enjoyed A Farewell to Arms. So that's like my little mini review on that. I don't want to take up too much time talking about it. But yeah. Now, in that same vein, I am currently working on my third Let's Read a Classic, and this one is a booger. It is a thick, chunky one. I've got it sitting right here, and I am currently 200 pages into it as of the filming of this video, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Now, my knowledge of The Count of Monte Cristo is the movie starring Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce. I love that movie. Love, love, love that movie. And so I've had this sitting on the shelf for a very long time and always been a little intimidated. Anytime you see this in a bookstore, if you don't see the abridged version, it is she-thick. And so I've always kind of put this one off, and especially I have sometimes that classical bias, like that is going to be wordy, it's going to be difficult to understand. I'm going to have to just focus so much to get everything that's being said or done, or the descriptions, and sometimes I like have that classical bias. But so far I have found this to be very readable. Yes, it does have some of those parts where I'm kind of like, okay, what? But overall, I feel like this flows very well. This copy is the Fall River. I just wanted to make sure I got that right. The Fall River edition that is distributed in Barnes & Noble stores. And so I don't know, I should have looked it up, but I don't know who the translator is right now. But so far, I'm finding it to be very readable, very understandable. Now, it is quite different in a lot of respects from the movie with Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce, which at first I kind of had a little bit of a, no, you know, because I love that movie so much. But I am getting into it. I am really enjoying it. It's flowing pretty well. And so be on the lookout for the full video of this. I will try to not make the video comparably long to what this book is. And I don't want to have to split it into part 1, part 2. It's not that serious. But so anyways, be on the lookout for my Let's Read a Classic of The Count of Monte Cristo. The other book that I am working my way through is also a chunky book. And it is kind of inspired me to do another portion of this video, which is which is books that I'm kind of late to the party on. Modern big books or major books that I haven't gotten around to reading yet. But anyways, enough about that. The next book that I am working my way through is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Now, I'll go ahead and admit, I know very little, knew even less about Samantha Shannon and her works before I found The Priory of the Orange Tree. I was in Barnes & Noble one day, just kind of shopping around, and I saw it, and it appealed to me because, one, it's beautiful. This cover is beautiful. And two, she's a chunker. And so I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. Let's see. Oh, also, it was on one of the, like, buy one, get one 50% off shelves. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see what Goodreads has to say about it. And so I looked it up on Goodreads, and it had like a 4.2 or something like that. And I was like, all right, okay. And so anyways, read the back of it. I was like, okay, yeah, why not? I just got a paycheck from my new job, and it's burning a hole in my pocket. So let's go ahead and pick this up. And so it was sitting over on my shelf. And then I decided that I was going to, for the first time, get Audible. which this video is not sponsored, but maybe one day. Anyway, so I got Audible, and this was the first book I got, and I've been listening to it as I drive back and forth. I am really, really enjoying the Priory of the Orange Tree so far. I'm about halfway through, as you can see. And then the story is very good. Samantha Shannon's writing is very good. I really like her characters. And then the narrator is fabulous. I don't know the name. Maybe I'll put it here whenever I'm editing this video. But yeah, so far, really enjoying the Priory of the Orange Tree. Now, everybody take a deep breath. I'm going to be as judicious as possible when talking about this. But, so, one of the things that it says on the back is that, it says, brilliant, diverse, feminist, subversive, thought-provoking, and masterfully told, The Priory of the Orange Tree is epic fantasy at its, it says nest, but I think that's a misprint. So, and then it says, Shannon has taken the fantasy epic and breathed new life into it, allowing women's stories to take center stage where they belong, even in a world nothing like our own. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and saying that this was feminist worried me a little bit. Not because I have any problem with women's roles and equality and stories about females or, you know, ladies. I have no issue. Like, great. What concerned me was two different things. What concerned me was that we would have a bunch of characters who could do no wrong. And this is a long book for that kind of thing. I don't like male characters that are written that way. I don't like female characters that are written that way. It doesn't ring true. We are all human and we all struggle. And for me, in fiction, I want to see, you know, if you become like a powerful character or, you know, a good, well-written character, I want to see you overcome challenges. I want to see that you are human and that you are able to push through and get to a point where you have earned like your victory at the end, especially like talking about fantasy novels. So that was that. And then the other thing I was concerned about are we going to have like toe-licking ogre male characters that can't tie their own shoes? And so that was my concern going into this. And I have to say I have been proven wrong on both counts. The female characters in this book, while they are the center of the story, I have not met one character that does not have a struggle, that does not have faults, that does not have challenges that they have to overcome, and that they don't seem to struggle through these challenges. Every one of these characters so far has gone through something where it seems like they might not be able to overcome this. And in the case of one of the characters, Tane, I'll just say she's had this dream, and where I'm at in the book right now, this dream has kind of seemed like it's come crashing down, and that she's no longer going to be able to pursue the life that she so dreamed of and longed for. The queen of this book, very strong personality at the beginning, as a queen should be, but she has gone through a horrible, horrible tragedy that has basically broken her. Then there's the other, like her handmaiden, or basically that's this, well, I don't want to get into spoilers, but somebody close to her that's another one of the main characters. Her name is Ead, and she ties up with what the Priory of the Orange Tree is, and I really like her character as well. Also has gone through some stuff, maybe not quite as tragic as the other two, but is also under the thumb of people who are in authority above her, and she's having to kind of
work through the shadows. And anyways, this has turned into like a super long review of Priory of the Orange Tree. But anyways, it's good and I've really been enjoying it. And so, yeah, I will hopefully do a longer review on this whenever I'm done. So the next part of this video, I just wanted to kind of talk about a couple of recent, but I'm gonna lump them all together. I had a recent splurge of buying books, and I wanted to kind of format this section of the video as a book haul plus books that I have wanted to read for a long time, or books that I'm late to the party on, like popular, well-known books that I just have not got around to yet. And so we'll kind of do these rapid fire, but show you kind of what I've picked up here recently. The first is The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. And look, if you're alive today, if you're watching this video, you're late to the party on this one, just like I am. I mean, this was written a long time ago, and so we couldn't help being late to the party on this one. But I finally found a copy that I actually liked the way it looked. I found this at half price. And so I have a beautiful, like, old copy of The Man in the Iron Mask, and I want to start off with The Three Musketeers first. So now that I have this, maybe I can get to that. Next goes along with The Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm halfway through that one, but I'm enjoying it so much I went ahead and picked up A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I'm going to get around to talking about this one more, but I picked up Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Now, if you want any sort of like spoiler alert as to how much I like this book, yeah. Apropos with a really big popular movie that just came out, I had to repurchase this book. I had it when I lived back in Iowa about 6 or 7 years ago, and I think I put it in a little free library, but I wanted a nice new copy of Dune by Frank Herbert. If you haven't seen the movies, go watch them. They're fantastic. Or maybe read the book first. I don't know. That's a pretty good idea too, but either way, just get yourself into Dune. This next one probably epitomizes late to the party in terms of modern day, like big, well-known books that I have done such a poor job of. Every time I see it, I don't purchase it, and then when I go back, it's not there. And that is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Right, yes. I have wanted to read this book for a while. I have heard people gush about it. Yeah, I know it was huge on BookTube, Book Talk. So anyways, I was finally in Barnes & Noble one day, and they had a copy of it in stock, and I said, it is now or never. I have got to get that while I can get my hands on it. Next is an author that has made quite a splash, and I saw somebody on Goodreads compare this author with Hanya Yanagihara, and that was enough for me. So I have picked up Shuggie Bain and Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart. Why not put Gai Jin on the shelf, even though I haven't read Taipan yet? Next is a pretty well-known sci-fi saga series that has like 14 books or something, a lot of books in the series, and it's also been a Prime original series, and that is The Expanse by James S.A. Corey. We're almost done, I swear. The next is a book that I read a long time ago that I've always wanted to come back to because it was such a challenge to read it, and I know it's a very difficult book, but I read it, though I will not sit here and pretend like I got it all, but I finally picked up my own copy of Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. Next is The Wager by David Grann, who is also the author of Killers of the Flower Moon that was just turned into a movie. And I heard, I think somebody commented on one of my videos actually, that this is going to be adapted into a movie. And so it is a nonfiction book, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I look forward to this. It seems like really interesting. It got glowing reviews. I'm trying to get a little bit more into nonfiction, and so this to me seemed like a wonderful way to do that. Also, I'm just going to go ahead and admit I've always wanted to do a painting of a ship in a stormy sea, even though there's like 10 million, billion, 100,000, whatever. There's a ton of them, but I've wanted to do one of my own. I just think it's such an interesting and beautiful cover, and that really drew me to this. So I judged a book by its cover. Next goes back into some of the oldest like fantasy lore that we can find in Western literature, but with a different take on it. This is a very well-known classic. One of my older brothers read this whenever he was in high school, and it has always kind of stuck with me every time I see the cover. Anyways, the last book is The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. I was afraid I was going to get her names mixed up. I had friends that read this in high school. My older brother read this in high school. I've seen this around a bunch, and I finally saw a copy of it in Half Price Books and decided, like, now's the time. Let's just go ahead and grab it. I'll get around to it one day. And now I'm telling myself the age-old lie. I will not buy another book until I have read every book that I have already purchased. We'll see how that goes. But no, I do have a lot to get through, a lot of books. There's just, I guess there's worse things that you can spend your money on. But I, finally, not to get too into personal things, but I finally feel a bit more financially stable in my life. And so I treated myself to going out and picking up some books that have been kind of staring at me from the shelves for a long time. Let's get them in my possession. Let's get them on the shelves, and we'll get through it all one page at a time. But yeah, anyway. So what a random video, y'all. I probably have just been rambling a whole bunch, but I wanted to do something maybe a little bit different. I appreciate everybody that's showing up for my reviews. Some of my reviews are starting to do pretty well, get some really good numbers. Some not so much, and it's probably because those are some of the books that I'm kind of late to the party on, and maybe some of them just weren't good reviews, but that's okay. Thank you if you're here. Thank you if you've subscribed, if you've liked, if you've commented. I appreciate you so much. And so now I am going to take some time to put all of these back on the shelf, and then I might read another chapter or two of The Count of Monte Cristo before bed. So anyways, thank you so much once again for joining me, and I will see you again very soon. Happy reading, everyone. Really, you have to do that right here? Show some decency.